what we should do is let's start off with Jordan Peterson talking about trans people. Okay, I'm gonna pee real quick as well, and then we're gonna move on to the Supreme Court, Justice Breyer thing.
What do you think is happening with trans people then?
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of trans people.
Okay,
First
trans
of all,
men, or excuse me, trans women, men to female.
Well, then I would say it depends on what period.
Dude, it is still kind of funny. Like, obviously, transphobia is not funny, but transphobic people trying to like talk about trans people in a way where like they can't immediately be fucking transphobic because they have to be descriptive is hilarious to watch, because he's like, he wants to be transphobic, but he can't be transphobic yet. You know what I mean? Because like he has to be descriptive, which is inherently the reason why people are like, it doesn't even make fucking like logistical sense to be transphobic. You know what I mean? Like, you can't simultaneously be transphobic and also and logically contextualize transphobia at the same time. So you have to like first establish the conversation in a non-transphobic way so that you can turn around and be transphobic. Does that make sense? Which is why this is a hilarious starting point. He's like, trans men. I mean, trans women that were men. Okay.
Period of time you're asking that question about. Right now, if you look at teenagers, for example, who want to switch genders, 95% of them are unbearably confused. That's what's causing that. And I think there's other reasons too. I think this is a conjecture. When the trans teenagers came after me when I opposed Bill C-16 in Canada on compelled speech grounds, I spent quite a bit of time watching them. And I already kind of knew about that fluid identity crowd. So when I was at Harvard, piercing and tattooing started to become a cultural rage. And I was interested in, well, who's doing this? Because I knew it was a practice that was limited to criminal subtypes and your life. And if you were a prisoner, same thing. But then all of a sudden it started to make its inroads into the popular culture. So we studied a group of early adopters of tattooing and piercing from the perspective of personality. Like, who are these people? And they were all highly creative people. Well, and creativity is a trait. And all people who aren't creative, that's wrong. In fact, most people aren't creative at all. And I can explain that later, but they're not. We developed a scale called the Creative Achievement Questionnaire, which assesses lifetime contribution to 13 different creative domains. And that your scores would range from 0, I have no training or talent in this area, to, I think it was 8. I'm an internationally recognized expert in this area, right? And so...
We didn't watch all of it. We watched some of the trans takes. We didn't watch all of the trans takes. Like, Jordan Peterson saying that trans people are just like super creative, like all trans people are super creative, and that it's just simply their...
Well, and creativity is a trait, and all people who aren't creative, that's wrong. In fact, most people aren't creative at all. And I can explain that later, but they're not. We developed a scale called the Creative Achievement Questionnaire, which assesses lifetime contribution to 13 different creative domains. And that your scores would range from 0, I have no training or talent in this area, to, I think it was 8.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Jordan Peterson, once again, just absolutely fucking nailing it, dude. That's why I always love asking, sexless nerds what it's like to be with women and like how to best conduct myself around women. And that's why I like to ask Jordan Peterson what the trans experience is like. A man who has never been around trans people, only in like a debate has he ever been around trans people, and a man who has never even seen trans people as like fully developed human beings. And that's precisely why, before you say maybe watch it first, I already watched this part, okay? That's precisely why it's hilarious when he says like, trans people are actually incredibly creative with their gender identity, and that's just what they're doing. They're being creative. It's like, bro, have you met 0 like trans people in the fucking STEM field? Okay? I'm sorry to all my fucking, trans STEM lords, but some of you don't have an ounce of creativity in your fucking body, okay? You don't have a single fucking creative bone. It's just the truth, okay? It's ridiculous that this dumbass is like, oh, trans people are all so creative. It's like he literally just thinks like trans people are the meme, like the blue-haired SJW meme.
8.
You see? Okay, there it is. Implying science isn't creative, smile. Implying science isn't creative, smile. See? This is exactly the type of person I'm talking about, okay?
I'm an internationally recognized expert.
Losing
in
their
this
shit.
area. Right. And so 70% of people, if you sum their scores across all 13 domains, scored 0. And I ask audiences, like, how many portraits have you painted? 0. How many songs have you composed? 0. How many plays have you written? 0. How many recipes have you...
Well, yeah, this is a bad take. Dude, come on. I'm fucking... Let me joke, please. STEM lords and neurodivergent people just understanding sarcasm and joke challenge impossible difficulty for 1 second, okay? Please, 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 please. It's a joke. Obviously, being a fucking STEM lord doesn't immediately stop you from being creative. Please. Can I just say something without you guys fucking losing your shit? Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck. Not allowed. No jokes. No jokes. Do not ever. I'm creative and I totally can understand art and context and subtext, but also in this situation, I'm gonna not understand it and show you how fucking creative I am.
Let me stop you.
So the tattooed types are high. They were high in creativity.
Okay.
And a lot of these people who are fluid in their identity are actually high in trait openness, and they do have fluid identities. And some of them are feminine men and masculine women. So yeah. But that doesn't mean that surgery is the cure.
I love that. It's like trans women are just they're femboys that went to fem. That's what it is. Yeah, that's how this works. A good take from Jordan. It's like, I mean, he is such a fucking boring old turf, dude. This is like straight up. I mean, he's not even a radical feminist, but like this is the exact same idea that rad femmes have, where they're like, you know, why can't women be fucking butch anymore? Like, women can't be butch lesbians anymore. It's like they all have to be trans men. It's like there's an entirely... there are still fucking butch lesbians, okay? And 2, it's like a totally separate thing. It's a totally separate thing. What you're describing is a totally separate thing.
For that it does not mean that. Not at all.
Well, what do you think it means when someone is so attracted to the idea that they were born in the wrong body? It means so much. They're so compelled that they're willing to go through surgery to change.
God, it means all sorts of things. I knew a kid in...
To be fair, some of JP's takes would be make banger live posting tweets. Yeah, that's the funny part, is that like, yeah, it's like he's been watching too much live posting or following live posting's Twitter account too hard, and like took everything as a certainty.
Toronto, who was on the autistic spectrum, and a lot of the people who are manifesting serious issues with gender identity are on the autistic spectrum.
This is like Abigail Schreier's work and rapid onset gender.
We watched this yesterday. It's crazy. Okay, what have we established so far? You know, trans people do not exist. They're just, you know, incredibly femme men. Okay, they're femboys, and they're mass girls. Okay, that's just how it is. And also, everyone's autistic. Yeah.
Dysphoria amongst women.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing, the rapid onset. That's more like... So part of the reason I objected to Bill's...
Now it's turning more from a live posting bit to like a come town bit, pretty much.
16 to begin with was because I knew full well as a clinician that as soon as we messed with fundamental sex categories and changed the terminology, we would fatally confuse thousands of young girls. I knew that because I knew the literature on psychological contagion, and it stretches back like 500 years.
And now we get to the best part, okay? The best part is when he's like, I, Jordan Peterson, have already dropped 2 fucking knowledge bombs in the span of 3 minutes where I said, transness does not exist. You're either a femboy or a butch girl, okay? And it's because you're really creative and that creativity is seeped into your gender identity. And also you're autistic. Now he's going to turn this around and be like, it's just like, you know, contagion. Like when women started going into the workplace, I'm now going to be also misogynistic on top of my transphobia.
That literature, 300 years. It's all outlined in a book by Henri Ellenberger called History of, what's the name of the book? History of Psychoanalytic Ideas. It doesn't matter. It's Henri Ellenberger, and it's his main work if you want to look it up. And so psychological contagions are very common. And so one of them, for example, was the satanic ritual abuse accusations that emerged in daycares in the 1980s. And that was a consequence of women going into the workforce en masse, leaving their children with strangers and starting to have pathological fantasies about it, especially if they were borderline schizophrenic. And those fantasies propagated into the population.
So what does this have to do with creativity?
I love that take. It's such a good take, dude. Yeah, I did pre-watch it. I watched it yesterday. It's like it wasn't enough that he was being transphobic. Then he was like, it's also the women that went into the workplace that created the satanic panic. It's awesome. That is just like, you can't make a combo like that, okay? He literally did a combination. He's like a fighting games community champion, okay? He just like added on additional seasoning to his transphobic takes in a way that was like unnecessary, but he wanted to get the style points out, you know? Respect.
You were talking about creativity in people that are...
Well, okay, so you see people with blue hair, the blue-haired crowd.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're the same people that were doing tattooing and piercing, and they often are literally the same people because they have piercings. It's like, well, they have mutable identities. They're not stable in their identities. They're creative. Creative people, by definition, aren't stable in their identities. That's what makes them creative. Now, the downside of that is creativity is a high risk, high return.
Wait, I'm about to do something here, and this is completely unrelated to the JP stuff. Hold on one second. Wait, is this it? Nope. That was not what I was going to do. Hold on. How the fuck do I mirror this? Because people have been crying about this a lot. Oops, I flipped it vertically. I want to mirror the... Oh, here. I think this will work. Hold on. Are you ready for this? I hope it works. Is it better? Is it better? Or did it fuck it up more? Is it worse? And now I'm looking at the screen. I feel like this was breaking people's brains, you know? You look weird. I feel like I look weird now. I look weird when I flipped, and Obama looks weird too. But at least I'm looking at the fucking camera, or at least I'm now looking at the video, it seems like. This is a rare HasanAbi.
Okay. Strategy. Your new idea is probably stupid and wrong, and maybe it's fatal. But now and then it's unbelievably successful. And also, now and then, our culture would die without it. So we always have this problem because we have to maintain stability, because otherwise everything degenerates into chaos. But mere stability won't work because the future is different from the past. Like technically different in a non-deterministic way. It's actually different. And so then we have to figure out, well, how do we modify our memories or our traditions at a rate that enables us to keep up with the culture? And the answer to this is, in part, we let creative people play multiple games on the fringe, and some of them are radically successful, and then we copy them.
So you think...
He's saying that trans people are at the forefront of leading culture and changing culture, and sometimes the creatives that change culture... This is your brain on too much like anti-materialist thought, okay? That, you know, the creatives are actually changing culture, they're shaping culture, and trans people are creative, which we already established, okay? That's a premise that we already established. They're artistic and autistic, okay? But they don't exist. They're not real, but they're also artistic and autistic, the femboys and the mass gals, okay? And they are incredibly creative, too creative sometimes, and that's why they have invented new gender identities, which is hilarious because Jordan Peterson is transracial technically when he talks about his like indigenous, his indigenous background, which does not exist. Many white people do this, right? And if he truly was indigenous, okay, if he actually was a member of truly a member of the First Nation tribe that he claims to be a part of, then he would recognize that, like, trans culture, if that was a cultural thing, okay, is not new, okay? The idea that it's like, oh, this is a new thing that trans people are inventing. Well, indigenous people kind of did that for a long time. So how do you not know that? There's a concept called a two-spirit, okay, which is quite literally what he is referencing, okay? So even as a fake native, he should know this, but he doesn't, okay? Like this idea that like transness as a concept is new and made up completely avoids, centuries of trans literature, trans people, depictions of transness in media, and in all the way down to like fucking tribes, okay, that are completely devoid of Western culture. So, again, just so idiotic. LMFAO, trans literature. I mean, yeah, okay. So there have of course been a lot of fucking trans people that have existed. It's like gay people that have also existed. Shocking. It's more so that like we are now recognizing that these people exist. But there was a lot of research conducted on this subject matter leading up to World War II, where the Nazis actually burned the first books they ever burned were books on trans people, trans existence, and medical journals on trans people. So ironic that Jordan Peterson once again is one, benefiting from the lack of knowledge on trans existence to launch his incorrect arguments about trans people, and he is also talking about free speech, which he's an advocate for free speech, but like the reason why he doesn't know a lot about trans people is because Nazis burned the books.
That a lot of what's going on with people that want to change their gender identity is creativity?
No, I don't think so.
So
even Joe Rogan is like, that sounds
I
crazy.
know so.
You know so.
Yeah, that's not all of it, but that's definitely part of it.
But there are for sure a lot of people that transition, and there has been work on this that shows that if they didn't transition, they wanted to transition at one point in time, and then they eventually wound up becoming gay men.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
definitely
males
the case.
to females,
yeah, well, it's
right?
confusing. Look, I
What?
mean, I also think, by the way, that part of what we're seeing in late adolescence with this insistence on the primacy of felt identity.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
A lot of people that transition, and there has been work on this that shows that if they didn't transition, they wanted to transition at one point in time, and then they eventually wound up becoming gay men.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
definitely
males
the
to
case.
females,
yeah, well, it's
right?
confusing. Look, I mean, I also think, by the way, that part of what we're seeing in late adolescence with this insistence on.
How did he take a real study conducted on like how did he take a real study conducted on trans people greatly improving their living conditions as a consequence of like social acceptability, and many studies that have been conducted about like transition or gender confirmation that is incredibly helpful, and turn it into something that is incredibly transphobic again. He's saying trans women are gay men is like, how do you do that? How do you take like actual empirical evidence that shows that gender confirmation surgery is very helpful? And even beyond gender confirmation, what's even more important than gender confirmation surgery is that acceptance, trans acceptance in the immediate friends and family and social circles is like greatly diminishes the likelihood of suicidality. Is really fucking interesting.
On the primacy of felt identity is the reemergence of suppressed fantasy play that should have taken place at between, say, 3 and 5. That's been suppressed by the imposition of technological artifacts like television and phones, and by the absence of free play among children who are...
It's also so funny because, like, listen, here's also interesting. Like, because you don't know anything about trans people, you're just like, you're the only thing you know about trans people is like memes that you've seen, like transphobic memes that you've seen. So you quite literally refuse to acknowledge the existence of many trans women who are lesbians. Okay? So there's also that part of the equation that they're just like completely fucking avoiding. You know what I mean? There's a fuckload of trans women that are lesbians. Now, of course, TERFs don't avoid that because they say those are rapist men that want to, steal women away from the unlikable TERF lesbians, okay, that are destined for a lifetime of hurt and pain and anger and being alone with their cats. So, they just fucking lash out against the more likable trans women that also happen to be lesbians. But these two dudes have no idea that even exists because they're not even well read enough on the fucking TERF literature.
Primacy of felt identity is the reemergence of suppressed fantasy play that should have taken place at between, say, 3 and 5. That's been suppressed by the imposition of technological artifacts like television and phones, and by the absence of free play among children who are hyper-supervised.
So the fantasy play is imperative to develop your identity by trying out a bunch of different patterns of behavior
Yes, exactly.
and ways to be.
Yes, so when my son was about...
I mean, how is it any different than like fucking Ross Douthat or whatever, any kind of fucking reactionary psycho basically saying like phones are forcibly feminizing us? You know what I mean? In the 90s version of that quite literally is, all this technology is making us gay. That's it. That's what this is. It's just like all of that is so stupid. And also it's bad, by the way. Like I keep forgetting to add that like phones are forcibly feminizing us and that's bad. And also phones are forcibly making us gay and that's bad. It's like, who cares if fucking people are gay or trans? Even if people were turning, okay? Which is not a real concept. But let's say it was. And this is the other part that I always have a hard time with. Like if being a homosexual was a choice or being trans was a choice, why the fuck are they, which it's not, and I have to be clear on this, it certainly is not, okay? Why the fuck is that somehow bad? Why? Why is that bad? It's not true. It's not a choice. But even if it was, why is that bad?
2. His sister was about 3 and had a little gaggle of friends, and they used to dress him up like a fairy princess. And this didn't happen for like years. It happened for a couple of weeks, and he was playing along. And I went down there, and I'm a Northern Albertan, and so the gender roles there were fairly finely defined. And I was watching this, I thought, what the hell are you doing? I'll beat the shit out of you, son. You're a Northern Albertan. Now go fuck this fracking juice that I made right now. Go drink that fracking cum immediately, bucko. Is it really a good thing that he's fracking juice up? Like got wings on, a little fairy hat and a wand and a dress? Is that okay? And I talked to Tammy about it. I said, the girls are dressing Julian up like a princess. And it kind of...
Wait, did you guys actually think that it was him who said that? Shut the fuck up. Stop. I'm not that good, dude. I think you guys are joshing. I think you guys are clowning, dude. No shot you thought I was being serious. Oh my God, that's fucking fire. I love that.
I have qualms about it, but I'm not sure what to do, because he was having a good time and he was playing with the girls, and
What qualms would you possibly have about that? Because from my personal experience of having daughters,
Yeah.
they think it's funny to put me in a dress.
It is funny.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there was a dress that my wife was throwing out, and my daughters made me put it on. They forced me to, and they took pictures of me.
Yeah, I bet
they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. My daughter decorated me up like a woman one day in her makeup class. And
Right. So what's wrong with that? Nothing, right?
Well, that's
just fun.
No. Well, that's it. That's what I
Right.
concluded. You know, I thought, well,
But why would you worry about anything else other than it being fun?
well, probably because I had. Why was I worried about it? I suppose because I hoped that his time and he was playing with the girls and
What qualms would you possibly have about that? Because from my personal experience of having daughters,
yeah,
they think it's funny to
Why
put me in
were
a
you
dress.
worried about it? Huh? What made you worry about it? One of my favorite types of transphobia and homophobia is when they will turn around and be like, well, it's because society is really mean and rough to those who are trans. And that's why, it's a choice. And also, that's why I tell them not to choose to be trans. And it's like, well, is society mean and rough to trans people, like by design? Or have you turned it into that and refused to fucking, offer any restitution or stop doing that?
It is funny.
Yeah, well, there was a dress that my wife was throwing out, and my daughters made me put it on. They forced me to, and they took pictures of me.
Yeah, I bet
they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. My daughter decorated me up like a woman one day in her makeup class. And
Right. So what's wrong with that? Nothing, right?
Well, that's
just fun.
No. Well, that's it. That's what I concluded. I thought, well,
but why would you worry about anything else other than it being fun?
Well, probably because I had. Why was I worried about it? I suppose because I hoped that his pathway towards adulthood would be
normal.
Yeah, sure.
Skip the last 10 seconds. Don't ask why there's a gun pointed to my head. Did you put a poop sock in here? Okay. Do you have part 2 or no?
Normal biological male progression to
yeah. And so I saw this playing,
children.
but then I thought I only had qualms for like about 2 hours. I went and thought about it. I thought, okay, what's going on here? Well, he's playing with the girls. Okay, should he play with girls? Yes, definitely. He should play with girls. Absolutely. Adult males should play with women. Like, we should be able to play with people.
What the fuck? Yo, he's going Jokar mode, dude. It's crazy. He's going full-blown Jokar mode here. Look at this. Look at his face.
Okay, should he play with girls? Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
He should play with girls. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Adult males should play with women. Like, we should be able to play with people of the opposite sex. Like, so he's learning to play with the girls. Good. Is he enjoying it? Yes. Are they bullying him? No. Are the girls enjoying it? Yes.
How do you feel about trans women in women's sports? Do you feel they have an advantage over other women, even more if they spend most of their life as a male? This is one of the most transphobic takes from JR, by the way. Is there any talking points against it? What the fuck is a normal biological male? What the fuck, Rogan? I have said this time and time again, and people get like very mad at me because they say I have a very, in my opinion, a very like focused on the normative fucking approach stance to this conversation. Okay? I don't care. And I think you're weird for caring. That's my immediate answer. And people get very upset at this. Some people think that, no, you're supposed to be like, bringing primary sources to the forefront of the conversation and tell them blah, 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 blah. Like, not only do I not care, and I think you're weird for caring because it's not even a little transphobic, it's just you're transphobic for caring because you don't even know who like the second place is or the third place is. You don't even know who the trans person supposedly quote unquote stole the title from. You don't care. And same with combat sports, everything. I don't care. Again, combat sports, I don't care. Weightlifting, I don't care. It's silly. Okay? It's a super silly argument to make. Like, trans women are women. As a lawyer, this argument, which doesn't make sense, hurts my entire being. Oh, God, lawyers are debate lords to the maximum, as we've talked about before. Trans women are women. No one is fucking secretly, like, faking being trans to win at sports, okay? That's it. Like, you have to unironically feel or believe that, like, people are somehow faking it to become trans because it's a choice to play against women and defeat them. And you couldn't do it against cis men, so you decided to do it against cis women as a trans man. And that is transphobic. I don't care equals facts don't align with me. No, even if in certain circumstances, in certain sports, if trans women do have a competitive advantage, especially if they went through confirmation later, okay, I still do not care. I do not care because I do not care when someone is taller than another person in other sports. I do not care when a person has, the webbed feet and webbed fucking hands that make it that make it so that they're better swimmers. I do not care when you can swim faster because of that. I do not care if you have a longer wingspan. And therefore, I do not care if someone is a trans woman playing against or competing against cis women. That's it. And I don't know why people look to that and go, that's fucking bullshit. You're off the money on this one, Hasan. No, I don't think I am. And to the people who say trans women are not women, they're trans women. My point is make a trans women section. To do what? So what? Is like the one trans female swimmer going to compete with the one trans fucking curler? Is that what we're going to do? Because there's like 3 of them. The entire point of this conversation is to just stop trans people from competing in sports. That's it. And it's just one other avenue. It is one other avenue to just say, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they should do that. Why don't you just bring up the integrity of the sport argument? Isn't it literally the same shit they're doing for this? Yeah, no, that is precisely what it is. If people say integrity of the sport. And that's why I always say, you do not have a problem with the integrity of the sport when it comes to people with biological advantages. You just do not consider being trans to be biological. That's it. You think it's unnatural. That's where it comes from. That's quite literally where it comes from. You just don't care about sports is also silly, okay? That's it. And there are people in my community who have been in like long-term subs who think it's my worst take or whatever the fuck, because the unfortunate reality is that transphobia is super, super, super fucking common. It is the normative position, and people cannot get out of that. Like, people cannot escape that. So much so that they will turn around and look at like examples of fucking, I don't know, seventh grade female swimmers or some shit to be like, look, there it is. This person, this 7th grader won a swimming competition in the relay race. Obviously, trans women have a natural advantage. So I find it really fucking stupid. Okay, I find it really stupid to harp on it over and over again, especially when trans women aren't even fucking dominating. They're not. They're not. A lot of them suck, okay? But the one time where there is a trans woman that's good, you talk about it for 3 years. It's so dumb. Make sports fair. Countries can't compete against each other to account for any differences. So that's why I say this. So we end gendered sports, period. I mean, we could, but no. If you don't want to end gendered sports, that's fine. Like, I don't care. We could. But the ultimate reality is that, yes, men would fucking dominate women in most sports. Most sports that people watch. I get that. I agree. That's not like, you know, that's just true. I understand. Some trans women are going to have advantages over cis women. That is variety, okay? That is the spice of life. That makes sports beautiful and wonderful, okay? Fun and wonderful. But if you truly are fearful that like the integrity of sports are going to be destroyed by like 8 total trans women competing against cis women across like every fucking category, you are psychopathic. And even out of those 8, it doesn't even matter because like there's only one that is like successful in their own respective field once every 3 years, and then motherfuckers can't shut the fuck up about it. They're like, oh, look, there it is. So the problem is trans women aren't dominating. So what happens when they do start dominating and take over the sport from the males who earn the spot to work hard? Wait, what? From the males who earned the spot and worked hard? Are you going to allow trans women from taking away their hard work? What? It's almost like taking away the top of the hour ad break from non-subs. I can't believe this dude take what the fuck. I was like, what the fuck are you saying? God damn it, it was a fucking bait. Stop calling me transphobic just because you disagree with me. I mean, look, I think you are. Okay? I think you are. Yes, trans women are women, but we should forget that there was a time when they were not because having more testosterone in your body makes a bit difference. Please stop calling people transphobic for disagree with you. Here's my take on this. And this like triggers the fuck out of people, okay? You are a little transphobic, but fear not, chatter. 1, you don't have to be forever. And 2, more importantly, you're transphobic as a consequence of your conditioning, okay? And the normative position is transphobic. So that's precisely why you are operating on a transphobic POV on this issue. You're not as transphobic as those who are like, let's literally murder trans people. You are not as transphobic as someone who's like, I refuse to fucking, you know, call someone the gender pronoun that they want, but you're still, you're still kind of transphobic. That's it. Because the ultimate idea, once again, the ultimate idea comes from the competitive advantage that someone is taking on that you consider to be unnatural. If you consider trans people to be natural, okay, like trans women are naturally women, like they have to undergo certain processes, but ultimately they are still women, okay? What we understand to be women, which is the concept of womanhood, is an arbitrary one regardless. But if you think that they are unnatural and it's akin to taking PEDs and it's just like people fucking, it's a biological advantage that should not exist, then you're basically saying they should not exist. And even then, there are, oh God, we've talked about this so many times. Even then, there is a variety, right? There is a variety. There is a variety of T levels in cis men that people rarely ever talk about. There's a variety in T levels in trans women, and most institutions try to account for that regardless by trying to regulate the level of testosterone in people's bloods. Just stop. You're badly explaining a good take. I'm not badly explaining a good take. but it is very triggering when you say I'm badly explaining it. And also, you do have the, opportunity to get the fuck out of here and never be in this community ever again. Sorry, it's my fucking space, And I think that I am doing a pretty good job of describing this, as I have done over and over again, especially because maybe I'm not describing it tailoring it to your personal and specific needs, but there are straight up thousands of people that were transphobic in this community that are no longer transphobic. So clearly I'm doing a better job than you and your dumb Redditor ass. Okay? There are trans people in here who want me to never even discuss this conversation. They want me to just move on because it creates so many people, or rather it reminds them that there are so many fucking transphobic people in this community. I respect your view on this, but calling me transphobic is a bit much. I know they are natural. It's just not that, though. What about bones, muscles, etc.? But the reason why this is transphobic is because you quite literally have never made this argument, unless you make the same exact argument for people that have biological advantages when playing basketball that are taller than others. Unless you make this argument for people's material conditions greatly improving, like their diets greatly improving their chances of making it big in a certain sport. Unless you are straight up advocating for normalization, which is ironic because it's equality of outcome, okay? Unless you're straight up advocating for equality of outcome in every fucking field, in every sport, this argument singling out trans people as like an unnatural phenomena in sports, albeit a super tiny one regardless, is inherently transphobic. It comes from the false notion that you believe that like trans people are somehow cheating, like they chose to be trans women, and that's why they chose to be trans women just so they can win in an athletic competition. And these arguments are not all that different from people who originally said black women or black men have genetic advantages to non-black competitors, and that's part of the reason why they shouldn't be a part of the competition. This is always going to be an argument against integration. It's an insane straw man. It's not, though. You keep pointing to PEDs, or you keep pointing to like bone density. You keep pointing to fucking. You keep pointing to the advantages, the genetic advantages that trans women have over cis women. Okay, it's not a new argument. That's the reason why I say I don't care. Please stop comparing black people to trans. You do this all the time. I won't lie. If my past messages are read, I was hacked. All right, this take is just bad. No, I won't lie to you, bro. Please stop comparing black people to trans people. You do this all the time. I won't lie, bro. Oh, okay. So, it's fine when we're talking about integration in the identical capacity of like black people participating, but when it's trans people, it's not fine. I got it. It made me self-aware of my own biases and prejudices. I had always assumed that trans people had a natural advantage due to their original gender, but never thought about it in terms of taller basketball players, stronger weightlifters, etc. The prejudices have always been dominant and built inside my brain, and you made me aware of them. Mind blowing. Thanks, mate. Yeah. And again, people respond differently to gender confirmation and the hormones that they take. So there's also that part of it as well. Like there are a lot of people who fucking lose their genetic competitive advantage being assigned male at birth, and then undergoing gender confirmation surgery. That's precisely why it's not always a 100% dominance for trans women in every fucking field that they participate in. That's precisely why there aren't. That's so cap. What the fuck? What is so cap? Those women who are often at the upper level are intersex. The problem is that there are differences in men, the lack of return for more testosterone. The thing is with trans women, they have an insane amount of test. especially if you're on the low side, upwards 10 times more than tests with women. Wait, what? Is this like calling people homophobic because they won't date gay people? No, this has nothing to do with that at all. What the fuck? This is a horrifyingly bad comparison. $27-month subscriber. I've actually helped with the formulation and with my arguments with white cis people I work with. I actually got a lot of high-level people written up because of their unawareness of their racism. Don't these people ever wonder why trans people don't dominate in the Olympics? No, because then they fucking turn around and literally say that then they turn around and literally fucking claim that like they're doing it, they're faking it. They're faking their lack of skill in a particular field so they can fucking like you know, improve trans acceptance in sports or some shit. Like I've literally seen that with the Australian trans woman who like got absolutely fucking cumstered in the weightlifting competition. Because the argument always revolves around fucking, you know, they don't dominate in the Olympics because there's like 5 of them. Why? There was one trans woman that made it all the way to the Olympics and she got fucking cumstered. So what's up? What happened there? And it was a weightlifting competition. And every single transphobe, including you most likely, thought that they were going to be fucking great. And then they lost. They got clapped. But I also take the opposite position, which is like, I don't care if they are actually fucking good and they do dominate. I wouldn't care if see? What about the Norwegian trans woman? Like, you literally looked up, you personally fucking admitted that there's only 5 of them and you know all 5. Do you know any other fucking, do you know a single other female weightlifter? You do not. You know a single other female weightlifter? No, you don't. You're Googling it right now just so you can make a fucking argument. You don't. The only reason why you're bringing this up is because you like hyper focus on the fucking 5. Okay? You hyper focus on the 5 trans women that have competed, and you found one that's like successful. That's precisely what I'm saying. The New Zealand, the Australian or the New Zealand trans lady got fucking owned in the weightlifting competition. Okay? No, you brought up one that sucked. I brought up a good one. Yes, because what I'm saying is that it varies. It varies. Some people are very good. Some people are very good regardless of whether they're trans or not. Some people are very bad regardless of whether they're trans or not. And it doesn't fucking matter. It literally doesn't matter. Even if there were a fuckload of trans women and they were just fucking dominating in the field of sports. Okay? If they were dominating in the fucking field of sports. And I know I don't want to even get to the meta-analysis of the empirical evidence that suggests that trans women do not have like a significant competitive advantage over cis women. Even though that is true, that doesn't matter because like these motherfuckers use anecdotes, okay? They just use anecdotes always. They're always going to just go back to the anecdote. So I'm trying to defeat them in a totally separate argument. You're right. The meta-analysis does show that empirical evidence suggests that, yes, being trans does not immediately give you a significant competitive advantage. We're not having that conversation, though. And the reason why we're not having that conversation is because everyone goes, trans women are just men, okay, that are wearing dresses, and that's the reason why they're so good. Because this is a multifaceted argument. That's why I don't approach it from the fucking point of view of like, here's the empirical evidence, shut the fuck up. Do you understand? And no, these aren't fucking gray name sock accounts, dumbass. This is a 27-month subscriber that's like spreading the transphobic shit, okay? Literally just compare any professional basketball player to Hassan and you'll see why some kings just have a natural biological advantage and some are destined to stream, not ball. Okay, well, that's hurtful for no reason, okay? I'm out here defending, trans people and you just coming at me like this? You're just going to fucking destroy me? How did I catch a stray here, okay? I mean, you're true, you're right, but like, why would you say it like that, okay? Some things are better not said like that, okay? Fucked up. But true, yes. Isn't it if they dominate, just prove the process they went well and they have talent simply? I know. There was a funny way to illustrate a point. Way funnier than the top of the hour ad break that's coming to you right now. And transphobe or trans doesn't matter. Top of the hour ad break hits all the same regardless. Unless, of course, you are subscribed. That's right. If you are subscribed for $5 or for free, you will no longer be just haunted by the top of the hour ad break. You will be able to avoid the top of the hour ad break. Just like I am haunted by the scary reality that I am 6'4" and can't dunk anymore. So, maybe it'll take a lot longer for me to change that reality, but for you to change the reality that the top of the hour ad break haunts you every step of the way, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub. If you're lucky, here's the 1 minute ad break now. Asana used to have some of the same naturalistic views of trans women in sports as these chatters, but over time my views have changed and evolved, so hopefully there's still hope for them. Yeah, there is. There is hope for all. Oh, Dav was asking how I like the wallpaper. I had to delete it. Why didn't you put a fucking higher resolution wallpaper? Of course, it was a saltine cracker, but I had to delete it because it was just like awful. By the way, you can totally respect someone's identity and still, yeah, and still bar them from athletic competition. Got it. Yeah. The 8 trans women, not trans men too, by the way, but the only 8 trans women that want to fucking compete, you want to bar them from competition. But you love trans people. You just respect them. You just don't want them, the 8 of them, to literally fucking not compete. Just go somewhere else. It's so stupid. It's a really stupid argument. And the reason why I mention how little trans women compete is not to say it's not important because like a small amount of them are competing. And because that would imply that it could be important if a large amount of them were competing. I'm stating that despite the tiny fucking sliver of athletic competition that happens to be trans people competing, you care about it. It has an outsized place in your fucking mind. Okay? Why is the talking point always trans women and not trans men? Part of the reason why the talking point is always trans women and not trans men is because the counter of that would be like, that what like trans women are supposed to compete with cis men, and then what fucking oh, Jesus Christ. Trans women are supposed to compete with cis men, and trans men are supposed to compete with cis women. Which, they would never want that to happen either, because the ultimate argument revolves around just not competing. They just don't want trans women to compete, or like go to a different fucking go compete amongst themselves, all 8 of them in like across a variety of different fields.
a girl. Well, how do you understand that when you're 3 or maybe when you're 50? You play at it, which means you allow that pattern of being to inhabit you.
There's an insane amount of women who are at the top level of sports who are intersex. Okay, so do you have a problem with that? Do you want to stop that too? I don't understand. No, there are white people who destroy black people in certain things like distance running. Wait, what? It's like people who request to be called it for some reason. Wait, what? The only reason why it's only a few is because there's so few trans people who play it. It's like people who want all the trigger warnings when you talk about certain dumb things. It's like people who request to be called it for some fucking reason because it's wild to request society to change for like 15 people. I even gave a solution to it, man. What's your solution to it? Also, all women that dominate are intersex is kind of fucking crazy. No, he's not. This person is not being fucking transphobic. He's just saying that, like, some people want to be called it. But what's up? I even gave a solution to it. I want to know what their fucking solution is. It's why people care if you're on PEDs. Wait, first of all, there is no level of athletic competition where people haven't taken fucking PEDs, for the record. That's really stupid. The idea that people are not taking performance enhancing drugs when they're competing is so fucking stupid, for the record. Okay? Just, you're a delusional little baby if you think that, like, as a 27-month subscriber, that, like, people are not fucking straight up, like, cranking roids on the off season. Okay? Especially when they're younger. Oh my lord, you are so stupid. You are so fucking stupid. Are you in favor of an all PD Olympics? Oh, 100%. I'm in favor of that as well, for the record. I am 100% in favor of performance enhancing drugs. Everyone takes it already. I would rather have it be out in the open. And I would rather have it be that people are out and about it and they can do it safely rather than hiding it. Get an intersex surgery? You can't get an intersex surgery, Nate King. What the fuck are you talking about? Just go and get it. Intersex surgery? I mean, intersex is just how you're born. What? It means you're in certain circumstances, intersex means that you might have a naturally occurring testosterone production as a consequence of having both female parts of the anatomy and male parts of the anatomy as well. If everyone takes it, nobody takes it? I mean, yeah. What the fuck? You want people to start dying? Bro, I swear to God, if Base Centurion, if I find a single fucking mention of football on your account, I'm fucking yeeting you into space, okay? Oh, I can't fucking search through their entire messages. God damn it. Hold on. Okay, he has never said football. Motherfucker. Control F might let you search it. I saw soccer in the logs. No. American football. I'm confused about PEDs in the Olympics because I don't think it applies in the same way as recreational drugs. No, I'm talking about fucking PEDs like steroids. But that's different. That's a different argument. That's a different argument. I don't care about that. That's not what we're talking about right now. It's a bad idea. That would lead to more people taking it outside the professional sports since this would normalize it. Yeah, I mean, you say so. Intersex is just another way of saying trans? No, it's not. What? Your PED take undermines your trans takes? Why? Why does it? You don't understand that. You don't understand what I'm saying. I think your indifference to sports hurts your arguments, as with most leftists. No, My fucking pro PED sport is because I'm a realist and I'm not some fucking delusional baby who watches sports and thinks that like sports is devoid of PEDs. Okay, I played sports. I played organized sports my entire life. I'm literally all of my friends are fucking athletes. Like they have all played organized sports at the collegiate level, even at the professional level. I am 100% right, and you are 100% wrong if you think that like fucking PEDs are not super super common in sports. It's just true. You just don't want to believe it because you have this like idea, this false notion of most people are tested off season. You are not correct about off season PED. Dude, shut up. Please stop. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know that PEDs can be tested and are tested off season. It does not matter. Okay? They're not going to test every single person. They don't get to every single person. And they don't get to it when they're younger. I think I am getting trolled now because every single time I talk about this, people fucking lose their shit. Like, sports is the closest thing that we have to a real meritocracy. And by the way, this is super consistent with my takes. I don't believe that performance-enhancing drugs destroys the argument of meritocracy because not everybody that takes fucking steroids is going to look like Canute, for example. Not everybody that takes steroids is going to be able to fucking dunk like LeBron. Okay? So my argument has always been that performance-enhancing drugs is a part of medicine and a part of medical technology, and it's an advancement that I think is going to be fine. If everybody is fucking openly taking it like they already do, but they hide it, then, you know, not much is going to change. Is anything, the sports performance is going to improve, and maybe even PEDs will be safer in the long run. Doesn't it then become about who can take the most PEDs rather than the most talented? No, of course not. Of course, because none of you have gone to a state school like I have or been in a fraternity where you have seen motherfuckers take steroids and not actually fucking look anything like other motherfuckers who have taken steroids, because all of that is completely dependent on your physiology, your level of fucking grit, your level of fucking strength, your level of actual knowledge of the sport. You're stupid. You literally think you're the same couch potato that thinks, oh, dude, that guy took steroids. He cheated. He took steroids. He cheated. No, motherfucker, he still worked his ass off, okay? It gave him an additional boost, but like if you think you're going to take steroids and then magically become like a fucking super jack person, you're just a couch potato fat ass who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, okay? It's the same exact argument. It really fucking frustrates me when people are like, dude, PEDs is cheating. Yeah, motherfucker, everything is cheating, okay? There is no real normalization, okay? There is no fucking baseline. This is not a fine-tuned vehicle, okay? Like human beings are unique. Our development, our upbringing is unique. Our material conditions are different from one another, okay? That's why we have talent farms. That's why we have scouts that immediately pick people early on and subject them into entirely different living conditions so that they can actually be farmed out and become like really talented fucking athletes and not stay in the horrible material conditions that they were subjected to originally so they can actually fucking compete at the highest levels. That is because we already have no fucking base level stats that is normalized, okay? Why do you think 5-star exists? Why do you think basketball camps exist? Specifically so that if you are, for example, a black kid from a part of the country where we don't have a lot of access to facilities and a lot of access to the proper fucking nutritional qualities that you need to be able to be a fucking talented competitive athlete, to unlock their maximum potential. Why do you think that exists? It exists so that we can pluck kids early on and then put them at the highest level of competition. There is, and that's not something that people think about ever, okay? Wrong, AAU kids are all rich, lol. I mean, that's true, but, you know, there is also, there are camps for this reason. Comparing PED to nutrition, yes. PEDs are pay to win. Get that shit out of my game. No, dude, everything is PEDs. Everything. This is racist, you lib. So fucking racist. And now we're having this conversation about fucking PEDs. God, it's so annoying. When I competed in powerlifting, there were women who were much stronger than me, and not once was anyone saying they should just compete in their own league. I wonder why. What? People who've never taken steroids or don't understand steroids at all, straight up misunderstanding. They're like the significant advantages that people have in athletic competitions. It's so stupid. And then ultimately, you dumb couch potato fat ass motherfuckers turn around and tell me I don't know anything I'm talking about because I don't watch sports recreationally. Like, you literally think you know more because you watch sports recreationally when you have never done anything athletic your entire lives, okay? It's very triggering and very annoying. It's like, oh, dude, shut up, bro. You don't fucking get it, dude. Like, you don't understand. Like, I watch sports. You don't. That's why you don't care. You don't care. Like, nah, I know, dude. I watch sports, and that's why you fucking don't understand that, like, you know, steroids actually magically make you into LeBron James. Like, you don't know chatters who are personally come on Hazan? I mean, we're on Twitch. Let's be real.
And you experiment with it. Now, a lot of older transgender types, the late onset types, they're playing. They just don't know it. Now, there are often people who have a kind of a rigid identity, and part of their escape from that rigid identity is to develop some of the characteristics that are...
You hit a nerve. I know. It's just like, because everybody hates themselves. So when someone adequately and correctly calls it out, they just get very mad.
Typical of the opposite sex. They need it.
What is the term? There is a term for a man who derives a lot of sexual pleasure. He's heterosexual, but he derives
I think it's
sexual...
autogynephilia.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, but I think the sexual...
Fully explain that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it does. I think the reason they derive... Because the question is, why do they derive sexual pleasure?
Finish the sentence. You're not finishing the sentence. Like, explain what we're saying.
Yeah, well, they derive sexual pleasure. They get turned on by seeing themselves in the clothes of women.
Yes.
Or feeling it.
Yes.
But I think the sexual instinct is directing them towards personality expansion. I look at it...
Dude, if being trans had something to do with your fucking sexuality, then all trans people would have the same sexual proclivities when they don't. So what the fuck? This is why when two transphobic people talk about trans people, it's just like so much of the conversation is missing because they just like hyper focus on one type of trans person, okay? It's just so stupid. It's like you forget that, like, you know, there are so many different kinds of trans people. Like, you're just hyper focusing on one thing. And thinking that you're making a good argument against one fucking thing. It's so stupid.
In Jungian terms. So part of the process of personality expansion in the deep psychoanalytic sense is first you're a persona, or first you're nothing. Then you develop a persona, which is a way of presenting yourself in a socially acceptable way to the world. And maybe you confuse yourself with your persona. Now, you've had conversations with people on your podcast who are stiff and you can't get a dynamic conversation going. And it's because they're acting out their persona. You're not really talking to them. You're talking to an act that they've constructed. It's a puppet. An act that they've constructed to make themselves socially acceptable to the world.
And sometimes it's just anxiety.
Yeah, sure. It can be anxiety too. But then often under anxious conditions, people will revert to their persona because it's a well-rehearsed set of routines and that they know is socially acceptable. Okay, so for the Jungians, the first step outside the persona was the shadow. Carl Jung, followers of Carl Jung, or students of better terminology, was discovery of the shadow. Oh, I thought I was the good person here, but it turns out that I've got like some darkness. And you often see this with, imagine you have hyper-compassionate people who are dependent and they won't engage in conflict, so they're always oppressed. And so then when you talk to them, you find out they're really, really resentful and they have a lot of fantasies of revenge, like a lot. And so then you work with them and you think, okay, you have something to say and do here. You've got some harsh words to say, maybe to your partner. You've got some things to say to your boss. You got to spine up and say it. And that's part of incorporating that, especially aggression. So agreeable people, compassionate people don't like aggression. But like, that's like not liking sex. It's dangerous. But it's necessary. And so you want to integrate it. And if you don't, it has its own life. You know, you see people all the time who, they're so nice. You can't even be in the same room with them. They're that nice. But they're resentful and passive aggressive. They take it out in all sorts of ways, partly because they're always unhappy. They're often moralistically judgmental because they're not saying what they have to say. They got to integrate that shadow. So that was part of it. And the shadow consists of, in part, all the things about you that you've deemed morally unacceptable and failed to develop. And so sometimes that's aggression, often. Sometimes it's sexuality, often. And so it'll manifest itself in impulsive, aggressive sexuality, say under conditions of alcohol intoxication when it leaks out.
Aggressive, meaning like rough sex? Like
Yeah, forced. Yeah, definitely.
Forced. So you mean like rape?
Well, or...
It takes a special kind of demon to get Joe Rogan to come across like the smart, reasonable person, and Jordan Peterson is that demon. Every time Joe Rogan asks a question, I'm like, thank God. Like, you mean, forced sex? You mean like rape? Like non-consensual? Even he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Or it doesn't have to go all the way to rape. It can be like over-aggressive sexual compulsion in a dating situation.
So does that account for certain men that like violence in their sex, like they like abuse in their sex? Like,
yes.
Because there's a subset of men that like to hit women during sex.
Yeah.
And a lot of them turn out to be these like kind of male feminist types, which is really strange.
No, it's not.
Wait, what? Now they're just having a conversation about like made up people or like the one guy. First of all, guys that like to hit women during sex. I can't speak on this personally because I'm not a fan of striking. I'll do it if my partner asks me to do it. But that's completely separate from being feminist or not being feminist. It's consent. The main point of that conversation is consent. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing here where it's like, a lot of guys are like male feminists. They like to hit
during
women.
sex.
Yeah.
And a lot of them turn out to be these.
How do you know? You know, motherfuckers? Like, I don't understand. How do you know this?
Like kind of male feminist types, which is really strange.
No, it's not.
But it's
exactly
really
what you'd predict.
strange on the outside. When you
Definitely.
find out.
It's strange to those men too, because it's very unsettling for them to see, in the cloud of their niceness and their harmlessness, this deep, dark desire making itself manifest.
Do you remember that case of that Canadian broadcaster who was this guy who was like really talks like this, very calm, and then a bunch of women came out that dated him, said he beat the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's like abusive. That's an abusive person. What does talking calmly have to do with feminism? Like, oh my God, I'm so confused by this argument, dude. How is any of this related, dude? This is so fucking psychotic. They're talking about you? No, they're not. When have I ever... First of all, most people don't even fucking say that I am a feminist, okay? Like, if you ask people, they're like, oh, Hasan, that guy's a fucking misogynist piece of shit. So I don't think I'm the person that comes to mind whenever motherfuckers are like, that's a male feminist right there. So that's one, okay? I am, but, I don't think I'm the first person that comes to mind whenever someone's like thinking about like a liberal feminist person. Okay? Hasan, you're violently dumb. And that's unfortunate because that's funny to watch. Where do you get your ideas from? Nah, tell him. Your point actually makes sense after some thought, bruh. Nothing but facts from Hasan. No one watches female sports. Go back to Jordan Peterson, please, bruh. I wish you had an African-American audience as well. They're talking about you. They're talking about you as Uncle Spaghetti. I think the guy on Instagram that uses balloons for corny shit on walls. Yeah, that's what I think of too. I don't know if he's like an abusive person or not, but he just like strikes me as insincere. They mean this dude, John Gameshi? Who the fuck is this guy? Persian Canadian broadcaster, vocalist and drummer. And he was what, like a prolific serial rapist or something? Criminal charges. One count of overcoming resistance by choking after an investigation that began. Charges for 3 separate women. He pre-recorded on the same day. Okay. As someone who likes it both ways, there's a difference between hitting and whatever they're talking about. I don't give less of a fuck if a man calls himself a feminist just as long as they respect women and are open-minded. Okay, so the thing that is like really fucking stupid about this is like, of course there are fucking like rapists in every or violent assaulters in every community. Like people being like, oh, people presenting themselves as feminists does not change that reality. Like some people are. Some people are still absolutely insincerely fucking claiming that they're feminists, but then also, you know, behaving in this way. This does not change anything. A second trial for the additional charge. Wait, what happened? They acquitted him of all the charges. That there was insufficient evidence to establish proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Inconsistency and outright deception of the witness testimony had irreparably weakened the prosecution's case. Lawyer Mary Hanane was able to access thousands of messages between Gameshi's accusers and presented them. A second trial for one additional charge was scheduled. On May 16, 2016, however, the Crown withdrew the last remaining charge. Gameshi signed a peace bond, which does not include an admission of guilt. The publication ban on the same victim was lifted. A peace bond is an order from the court that typically involves keeping good behavior and prohibition contacting the complainant. Lawyers told CBC the signing of a peace bond is not an admission of having committed a crime. Judge William Horkins rebuked the complainants for providing deceptive and manipulative evidence. Wait, hold on. I don't even know what the fucking details are of this. Okay? But isn't Joe Rogan the guy who always says, like, women fucking lie? So what's up? Like, he's just like, you know, women... Joe Rogan's like, women always lie about rape, except for when they're talking about a guy who presents themselves as a feminist. He's an absolute monster, which, by the way, I believe. Like, I don't think the court system protects women or victims, so it's not surprising that he was acquitted. He could still very much be a guilty. Okay, it's kind of the whole basis of the fucking Me Too movement. It's just still surprising that Joseph Robinette Rogan over here is like, yeah, actually believe all women. Actually believe all women, dude. Like, honestly, what the fuck? Like, we're not believing the victims. You know, when it's a leftist guy, in which case, you know, they're all creepers. Yeah. We studied that case in law school. The accusers were super shady, and there was definitely reasonable doubt.
And he would want to beat them up during sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really beat them up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, punch them in the face. And
yeah,
stuff
well, you know, it's an
I think he's sexually abusive, but not to the point of the broken Canadian legal system to prove him guilty.
open question how much assertiveness there should be in sex. And that
But that's
the
not-
answer is zero. No, I'm
Yeah.
not saying in the least that that's
Right.
acceptable. Let me be absolutely clear here.
Well, I was
That's
just
not
going to say
acceptable
that's
at
not
all.
assertiveness.
No, it's not. It's repressed. It's repressed. It's what's repressed. There's no clearer way of saying it. It's like, look, many men are terrified of women, many, and so that terror might manifest itself, even in a relationship, in the inability to ever let the partner know what they really want.
They're terrified for what reason? Because of rejection? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the feelings of inadequacy that produces, often which are necessary. They're necessary.
Right.
Right.
I was trying to explain this to a friend once where we had a friend of ours who had developed what seemed to be like a real hate for women. And he wasn't an attractive guy. And so we were having this conversation, and I said, imagine if all of your interactions with women hurt your feelings, and you're not a very thoughtful and introspective person. You would immediately associate women with negative feelings, and you'd be angry about them. And that's what's happening to that guy. He got a bad roll of the dice in terms of his facial features and his genes. It just wasn't that good. And so he was not, girls were not interested in him. So he had developed this anger. And it was shocking.
Yeah. Welcome to the human race.
Shocking to, well, that's incels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even incels. It's like, okay, so I'll finish one thought because we were talking about transsexualism.
Yeah.
So the second stage of development in
The only time when their fucking bootstrap mentality is actually adequate is when it comes to self-improvement. And when it comes to, like, no, he's not defending incels. Jordan Peterson has, like, a very weird take on incels. On the one hand, he will say, like, this is why we need to enforce monogamy, okay? And then also simultaneously, he will literally say, listen, if you hate all women, that's your fault. Like, you need to pick yourself up, bucko. It's very weird. But I've seen him argue from both sides of this fucking argument, okay? I've seen him argue on either side of the spectrum. Joe Rogan and Jordan B. Peterson both literally say openly that, like, you know, it's your fault if you're unfuckable. Okay? It's your fault if you're unfuckable, and you got to figure that out. Joe Rogan says it more than Jordan Peterson does, for the record. Jordan Peterson does say that, but also others. Why is your shift flip? Dude, don't worry about it. Okay, I got a fucking special guest coming in right now. It was an Artful Dodge, though. That's not incels, both dismissive and defensive of incels. No, I've seen him say
in the
both.
Jungian sense is the integration of countersexual possibilities. So when I just watched Joaquin Phoenix in Joker.
In Joker, Joaquin Phoenix in Joker is very good movie. Hold on one second. Folks, I got a special guest that is here, and we're gonna have him over. But let's continue this, and you'll see him in a second.
He's a very charismatic actor, and
oh shit, is my shit flipped here? Wait, hold on. Oh, what the fuck? My shit's flipped on here. Should I flip this as well? Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that handsome man.
God, you changed your lighting.
What? Yeah, it's not good.
It's terrible. We all look like shit.
I mean, I'm sorry. Here, pull up.
Let me
Pull up.
I'm gonna pull up. I had to ask you for permission whether
Yeah, of
you
course
wanted
it's
to see
alright.
me together today.
Wait, what does that mean?
Well, you know, I don't want to intrude. I have this complex. I always feel like I'm never wanted.
Bro, you're literally, quite literally, always welcome. That's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, you want anything? Can I get you anything? I got a piece of gum.
I'm good. I have. Wait, that's mine, isn't it?
No. I just bought some. Motherfucker thinks he owns all this gum in the
I'm
world.
almost certain he took that last time he was here.
I bought it at the.
Where'd you buy it?
At the one of those gas stations on the way.
They don't sell those at gas stations.
They do.
They sell it
absolutely.
at Ralph's. They only sell it at Ralph's.
No, they don't sell it at Ralph's. What? We're just this is Hasan's
Do you see
world.
this?
This
Do you
is
see
Hasan's world, and we're just living.
He definitely
it.
stole that.
Dude, I
it's
love
fine.
this. What? This is. Look at this sick fit.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, look at this, dude. You really look like you're you're from a '70s band.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, good. It's the
So
look.
what are we watching? We watching Joe Rogan. We're Joe Rogan and chill right now.
We're
Hey, that
big.
studio,
We're big chilling.
that's
Does it look
been-
cool?
It looks good. It looks.
It's gonna be very cool when it's done.
It looks really good.
If you want to give them opinions or advice on what to do, like go ahead.
Dude, have you seen my setup?
I mean, but you're a prolific. You are a prolific, very successful, content creator, producer. So, it would be very valuable to have your advice on this.
Okay.
Is all I'm saying.
Okay, well look, I'm gonna go in. There's just gonna be a big poster of me shirtless on the wall with me and Malkova.
That's not good. That's not.
I'm gonna get a big.
I thought you were gonna give good advice and not.
That's a good advice. You kidding me?
Okay, well let's finish this.
Yeah, let's finish this Joe Rogan. You've been watching. Look, Hasan. You've been watching this thing for like 3 days.
No, 2 days. 2 days only. 2 days.
We're an hour and 24 minutes in.
It's actually 4 hours long, and we just covered the transphobia element. But I went into a transphobia stunlock when you were writing in the chat.
I was thinking, oh God, because he carried that whole movie on single-handedly. It's a dark, dark movie, and it has to do with resentment. This man who was forced to be nice by his
Talking
mother,
about the Joker,
who turns out to be absolutely crazy and abused him like mad when he was a kid. And
Jordan Peterson, no, he survived.
He survived?
Unfortunately.
Oh. I mean, I would wish... I mean, look, I'm a little bit... I would never wish death on anybody, for the record. So, Tucker, if you're watching... anyway, go ahead. Let's finish.
And then he becomes this role model for the dissemination of complete catastrophe into the entire society. It's a story of Cain in part. But Phoenix really carries that, and part of the reason that he does that is because he creates a compelling character who's sympathetic. Like, you can be sympathetic to him because he really did have a hard life, like really hard. But Phoenix is an extraordinarily charismatic person, partly because he's so he's masculine in his features and carved, but he's so graceful. Every single thing he does in the entire movie is a dance. Like, he's conscious of every single movement he makes. Every turn of his head is conscious. It's dance.
We saw all this already yesterday. He's just talking about the Joker. Okay, I'm done.